Hi, everyone. Welcome to Long Game, a heated rivalry podcast. My name is Silvan, and I'm, of course, joined by Declan. Now, this week we have a very special conversation planned for you. We've got director Caroline Plyler joining us to talk about her film Nextdoor. So, thank you so much for joining us, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm literally so excited.
And we are too. Your film, how we found it was through TikTok. It literally came up on my FYP, and I legit was obsessed. I was scrolling through looking for the next episode, and Candy Jar will only release an episode every other day or so often, and we had to wait patiently for the next one. So legit, I was obsessed.
I'm so excited. And that's very exciting that you found it through TikTok and social media. Because that's how we market things. And I'm so glad that our marketing got to the correct audience.
You found the guys,
Yeah,
Caroline.
Amazing. That's always who I'm looking for, right?
yeah, my For You page was doing its work for me that day. Because I didn't even, I wasn't aware that someone had reached out to you, and then when he says, "Oh, it's this next door, this film that I've been watching on my TikToks," I'm like, "Oh my God, no, I've been watching it on my TikTok now," and just from there, I was like, "Okay, yeah, this needs to happen."
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Because this is also Candy Jar's first queer show that they put out. So, we didn't really
Amazing.
have a fan base or anything for that yet. So I'm so glad that it found the right people.
Oh, trust me, the fans are out there. And not
Yeah.
even the people consuming the film itself, but the reactions to the films are getting like thousands and thousands of hits.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing. It's incredible. I mean, also got lucky with like the cutest actors ever who like really put their all into it and really made you believe like the story that they were telling. So I'm so lucky, so grateful for Nick and Justin and Sophia and uh uh Bella and Nick with a K.
And I do want to ask you more about the casting in a bit, but to start us off, I just want to ask, like, what does it feel like now that Nextdoor is out there in the world?
It feels amazing. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to do well or flop, and just the feedback that I've been getting about it has been incredible, like so overwhelming, so incredible. I'm so grateful, especially because this is the first thing that I've ever directed. And the fact that I was able to make something that connected and resonated with so many people is like, that's the reason why I want to tell stories. So it's my heart is so full. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned this is your directorial debut, and you would not have known that watching the movie. Like, I would have just
I
thought
mean,
it would have been someone who's quite seasoned.
that's amazing. I mean, I have for the past 3 years been following around incredible directors as their script supervisor. So I've learned a whole lot, just being behind the camera and watching what other people do. So I'm really grateful that all that hard work has paid off.
Yeah, and we learn so much from watching other people who have really honed in on their craft, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's the best way to learn. I'm definitely the kind of person that likes to watch and then I want to do it. So works super well for me.
Yeah, what was there any reason in particular that you chose this sort of story, like this sort of like a go with an romance instead of, something that they previously made before?
Yeah. Well, they came to me with this story and asked if I would be interested in making it. And I was beyond to be able to make a queer story. Um, I'm a bisexual person and I've always had my closest friends in the queer community. And I think it's like a very important group to me. And I felt like I could authentically tell this story because I was a bisexual girl in high school that had a crush on my best friend. So I was like, I understand deeply what's happening here. And, so as soon as I heard that this was the story, I was like, I resonate and feel like I could earnestly tell this. Yeah.
So were you a
Mm.
kid or a river?
I was definitely a kid, but only in sexuality ways like River.
Yeah.
But definitely a kid. I was definitely a yearner for somebody that maybe didn't want me back. My story did not have a happy ending, unlike kids.
Well, I think you found the right
Mm.
audience who are looking for that yearning. But for anyone who's listening and isn't familiar with Nextdoor, how would you describe the movie to them?
I would describe it as a young adult high school love story.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's
queer.
actually not. There's surprisingly not a lot of like young adult queer films and TV shows. There's a few of like really big famous ones. So you would have like Heartstopper, and you would have um was it Love? I think it's Love Victor, but there was also Film of Simon. But
Yeah.
yeah, but in terms of like how you guys approached this one, I felt like it was filling a hole for something that is not sort of typically done a lot. And when it is done, if it's done well, it can rise to popularity really, really well. And so I'm glad it showed up on my For You page because I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. And it feels like the kind of story that is very accessible to a young person who would be on TikTok scrolling and For You page and doing that and that and that. And allowing them access to a story like that so easily is, I think, it's filling a sort of hole that needs to be filled, I think.
That's so good. That was like a big part of what I was thinking about when I was making this. Of like, my kind of thought was, I want this to feel like a queer Disney Channel original that we never got, but like so deeply wanted.
Mm,
Being a kid into the 2000s, you don't see love stories like that. So, especially myself when I was a kid, I didn't know really what even bisexuality was, or that like it was okay for me to like somebody of the same gender. So seeing something like Next Door when I was a kid probably would have helped a lot of those confusing thoughts of like, is this normal? Is this okay? Because it is. And I'm really thankful that I got to relive a bit of my childhood and, hopefully show something to kids, show something to young people that they hadn't seen before to feel, more included.
mm. So in a way, that did you find it was a bit healing for you to be able to make that story?
Yeah, absolutely. I even talked about it with my actors in the beginning where I was like, Nick, who plays Kit. I was like, Nick, I'm kind of going to resonate a lot with you. And Justin, I am so sorry. I might beat up on you just a little tiny bit. Justin is also a Cancer, and I'm a Taurus, and I have an ex who's a Cancer. So there was like there were some things going on there for sure, which he totally knew about. We joked all about. But yeah, this was definitely personal to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that definitely comes across because I know you shared some behind the scenes footage on your TikTok, and you can see how well the cast just really gelled together. Like you just genuinely looked like you were having fun.
We were having the best time. It was also a lot of our first times. It was Justin's first time leading a movie for Candy Jar. It was Nick's first time, doing something larger than a small short film. um Sophie and Bella and Nick are seasoned professionals, but it was very cool for all of us because we all also, at the end of the day, this was all of our first times being on a queer story like this. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about it feeling like a wholesome Disney Channel movie, because that's the vibe I got. I got this can
Great.
be watched by anyone, and it would be so lovely
Yeah.
to be able to watch this perhaps like as a parent with a child, even just to initiate some of that conversation in a really safe, wholesome way.
Yeah, absolutely. And to normalize loving anybody is just fine, you know? And I wanted it to feel safe and approachable. And, especially because some of the bullying in there I wanted to kind of figure out how to make that more digestible, um, and just make something easy and digestible for people to watch.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea as well. I find, and I've discussed this with Sylvan in the past, that a lot of like queer media tends to like go to the dark side of the experience and what gay people go through, a lot of the traumas and sort of mental health struggles, which is absolutely fine. There is definitely a place for those stories to be told, and they deserve to be told. But I think you get to miss out on the sort of fun and light-hearted side of things. Whenever you're overly focusing on the sort of negative aspects of it. So I can appreciate creating, more media that is more diverse in terms of like queer representation, so that people like young adults and like kids can dip into a story and not feel like everything surrounding them is just this big dark thing and it's just this really messy, scary thing. But it can also be this really light, lovely thing that can be really fun. So yeah, I'm glad that there's more stories being created to have like a wider sort of spectrum of where they fall in the queer experience. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% felt that way when I was making this, of just the excitement of being able to move past the traumas, and make something fun and easy and frankly kind of normal. We see these stories all the time between straight white people all the time, and to have a different mix in there, that these kind of love stories are allowed to happen for anyone. It's not just for straight white people. Was very important as well.
Yeah, because as important as something like Brokeback Mountain is, we need a bit more queer High School Musical. I mean, you can argue High School Musical is a little queer anyway, because I mean, let's be honest.
100%.
Like, we were all brought up on High School Musical, right?
100%. 100%.
But we need those
I think
queer
the
characters to fall
actor.
in love.
Yeah, absolutely. What's so funny that you brought up High School Musical is I based Carrie and Darius off of Sharpay and what was his I forget his name.
Ryan?
Ryan and
Yeah,
Sharpay.
yeah. I actually like that idea as well because the actor who played Ryan, came out later and said
Yeah,
that he was definitely playing Ryan as a queer character, as this sort of closeted guy, this flamboyant big guy.
yeah.
Because obviously Disney did not want to do anything overt at that time. Like this was like mid to early 2000s. But he deliberately played Ryan like very camp, just so that there was just the hint of a bit of queer representation in there. I thought that was so fun.
No, I love that. I'm obsessed with that. That's also kind of the notes that I gave to Nick, who was playing Darius, of like, I kind of want you to deliver your lines because he's the one who had to say most of the bullying lines. And I was like, you kind of talk like an old drag queen. I don't know. So maybe try and deliver them like this. And then I gave him the chapstick so he had like something to do. Anyway, so it was very fun to kind of make his character like Ryan, in High School Musical, of like very flamboyant but like covered up under all of this like big jock exterior, which I also think is a very funny and kind of stereotypical trope as well. um So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and Sharpay in itself, I mean, she is a gay icon anyway.
Oh my God,
I mean,
the
right?
best.
I mean, I wanted to ask, what's the audience reaction been like? And has anything surprised you from who's been reaching out to you, who's been consuming the movie?
Um, so the response has been amazing. There's been a lot of younger people that I've noticed that really resonate with the story and have started following me and want, more of Nextdoor, which I'm very excited about. I I I think it's more just overwhelming than anything because you make something and you put it out there and you know that like I think this is actually good, but you don't know if other people are really going to connect with it and think that it's good or um resonate, and to have this like overwhelming feedback of just like joy and happiness and um thankfulness to have a story like this has been just it's overwhelming is really the only word that comes to mind, and just so much gratitude. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine the amount of DMs you must be getting and tags. Like, I was just thankful that you answered one of my DMs and you were so sweet
Oh my
about it
God.
when we approached you to do this podcast. Um, I wanted to ask, have you always wanted to go? Because when I looked up your resume on IMDb, you've done a lot. And like, you've been an actor yourself, you're a script supervisor, and now you're a director. I mean, and the people that you've worked with, like I was going through the cast credits on some of the movies you worked on. Like you had Marissa Tomei in one of the movies you worked in, and I was like, holy shit. That's huge. And so I'm wondering, like, did you always want to go into directing, or is that something that sort of came about later?
Well, I wanted to be an actor originally, and so that's where I started out. And then after getting quite a few acting credits, I kind of felt like this wasn't fulfilling me storytelling wise, like I thought that it would. Um, I've always been a writer, so it kind of made sense to get into directing because, especially as an actor, that's kind of where I got to learn all of these other positions behind the camera and seeing what a director does. I was like, oh, that's kind of what I want to be doing. I kind of want to be the one with the vision and, working with everyone to create something. So I was given the incredible advice to become a script supervisor to learn how to direct. I didn't go to film school or anything, so getting the advice to learn how to direct by taking a job behind the camera, and a job not only behind the camera, but a job directly next to the director, was just incredible advice. And yeah, so because of acting, I found directing. And then through directing, I found script supervision. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and we see this journey with some actors in Hollywood who have sort of gone more into the directing side. Like Bradley Cooper comes to mind, and there are so many others that are producing, like Margot Robbie and things like that. And it feels like a really natural progression for some of the actors to go down, just like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, well, definitely all actors are storytellers. And so inherently, we want to tell as many stories as we possibly can. And you can only do so much as an actor, but you can do even more if you start to wear more hats, like directing or producing. So it definitely feels like a natural progression.
Yeah. Do you like which aspect of it do you prefer more, the sort of writing side of it or the actually being there and directing the actors and sort of putting your vision directly in front of you? Or is it more like you enjoy the build up, the creation of the story and how it's going to unfold in your head.
Yeah, I think honestly, the prep is so much fun because you feel like you have the space and time to kind of flesh everything out. You get to talk to your department heads and your actors about, character, how you see them looking, how you see the spaces that they're in looking. And by setting yourself up so well with prep, you're able to, once you get on set, just kind of let things go, and let it be how it's going to be, which is amazing because it's such a whirlwind once you're on set. There's so many emotions going on within yourself. You're not sleeping because you're so wrapped up in this thing that you're making. It's like a bit of a manic episode. So the prep is super nice. And if you're prepped well enough, you're going to be able to go on set and just kind of let people do their thing, which is such a magical thing to witness as a director. And I felt so lucky that on Nextdoor, we had prepped in such a thorough way that once we got there, we all just kind of got to play around and have fun, which I think you can really tell in the movie that everything feels easy and lighthearted. Even if we're like punching somebody in the face, it's still, we're having fun.
And you talked about sort of doing that prep work. I wonder, as an actor, were you able to sort of identify with your fellow actors that you were directing in a way that maybe a director who hadn't acted might have done?
Maybe so. I had a incredible acting coach named Anthony Abison in New York who gave me all of the language that I have now to be able to speak to actors to kind of pull a performance out of them that I would like. Um, I think it's very important to, um, you know, collaborate with your actors and hear what they want, and also you tell them what you want. And I think definitely having a background in acting helps me to be able to talk and connect a bit easier. Absolutely, because I'm able to put myself in their shoes and think about, if I was trying to do this as an actor, what would I be thinking of? Or where would I be pulling my motivation from? Or what's a little, thought that I can plant in their head so that way these emotions can grow from it.
I feel like this is Declan's like domain. Like Declan studied film and movie studies. So like
Oh,
I feel like your this is like your expertise.
amazing. What did
Yeah,
you
like I studied film studies and film production.
Okay.
So it was like a college degree, university degree. I did it for 3 years. I was working on some projects and I just realized that the lifestyle, the sort of constant self-employment, like it just wasn't for me. And at the time I couldn't even drive, so I was having to show up to sets at 5 in the morning when I had no real way of getting there, and the whole thing just didn't really work. But one aspect of it that I really, really loved was the writing side of it. I loved script writing. I really, really enjoyed it, and a lot of the time I would fall into the sort of, when it came to my own projects, like the script writing or directing role. Um, which now that I'm looking back, I think it was more wanting to see your vision come to fruition and see it done justice and how you imagine it in your head. Obviously, as a student, you're really limited in how like effective you can be at that, because obviously you don't have the expertise and you don't quite have the experience yet to get like performances out of people in the right way, or to have lighting and a set done and sound done in a way that you feel is like really professional and crisp. So it's really difficult as a student to try to make your vision come to reality. So when you're script writing, you don't really need to worry about that because the quality can be as good as you want it to be. because there is no greater production. There is just you and the computer and your ideas and how well you're communicating them on the page. Um, and then you hand it over to someone who is much better at making it a reality, like yourself.
And Caroline, you mentioned about being a script supervisor. For anyone who's sort of not familiar what that was, and that includes me for a long time, what would you say that involves, or how does that work come about?
This is how I like to describe it. You're basically the on-set editor. So you sit next to the director, you tell them if there's a continuity error, like instead of picking up your drink with your camera right hand, you picked it up with your camera left hand. Now that's not necessarily going to cut because your drink is now in the wrong hand. And I also will help with matching shots. So that way, when you're in the edit, the back and forths and the conversations will cut together seamlessly. Definitely tracking the lines in the script is also a very important part of my job, because you want to make sure that the actors say the lines exactly as written, because they were written that way for a reason. And also tracking alt lines, like if they say something a little differently. You are the queen of continuity.
I mean, it sounds like a big job, because those are the things that people watching the shows and the movies are going to pick up so instantly when they have something like that go wrong, right?
Yes, it definitely takes you out of the fantasy of just being thrown into a story, because you're like, oh, I see that error. Um, but sometimes they're forgivable and you don't notice them, which is a very good thing, because you can't get everything.
I think one thing that comes to mind is, I don't know if you watched Game of Thrones, Caroline, but
Oh
That was
yeah,
from his coffee cup.
the coffee cup.
Yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I
Um,
don't know how no one noticed that.
yeah, I heard through the grapevine that the distribution got the wrong version of the cut. I don't know if this is true or not, but this was the hearsay, and that the coffee cup, they shot the rehearsal, and that was the rehearsal, and the coffee cup, that's why the coffee cup was there. Um, but who knows? It
Yeah.
shouldn't have been there anyway if you're rolling the camera. So somebody made a
I feel like it
mistake.
wouldn't have happened if you were on set, Caroline.
You're so correct. Absolutely not.
It's sounds like it's a lot of like attention to detail and knowing when, like, how do you usually approach the director and go, you're kind of doing that wrong, or that's not quite right? Like, is there like a bit of an awkwardness at first about like trying to like kind of confront the fact that they're messing up a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely very difficult to go to arguably one of the most important people on set, and also your boss, frankly, and to tell them you're wrong and we need to do that again. So you definitely figure out how to say it respectfully, and also as concise as possible and with a fix. So that way, because time is so expensive on set. So the quicker and more efficient that you can do things and to take the emotion out of the situation, the better. Um, but also script supervisors tend to kind of follow directors. Like a lot of the script supervisors that I learned under, they always work with these same directors over and over and over again, because you kind of get this shorthand with one another and you learn what's important to the director and what's not as important. Because obviously, if everything was important, you would have a litany of notes that you'd never finish the movie. So learning kind of what the director's taste is, and also how to get your point across and making sure that you two actually vibe. Because kind of an unspoken job of a script supervisor is to keep the director calm in between setups, because everybody just worried about time and making their day. And so, just keeping the conversation going, maybe going for a walk to get a coffee while we're waiting for this light to get set up. Yeah, they in so many ways become your best friend on set. And a lot of the directors that I script supervise for are people who I would consider very close friends. Now, sometimes sometimes I don't mesh with people and they don't mesh with me, and we're maybe not the best people to work with one another since it is such a close-knit job. But definitely, once you find the correct fit, being script supervisor and director, it's like it really is like best friends, because then you can just go up and immediately tell somebody, "Hey, what was that? We need to fix that." Um, and know that there's no like ego or being put down, that everything is done
Yeah.
with respect, with a little bit of humor, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, and in a way, what you were talking about, the speed in which you have to work on set and the prep that you do beforehand, reminds me of this interview with Jacob Tierney, so the creator of Heated Rivalry, of course. And he was talking about how much time he spends doing all that kind of prep and, having the conversations with everyone on the crew and the actors about what they're doing and why they're doing it, but not necessarily having that conversation the day of the shoot because time is money.
Absolutely. And also when you're already there and you're about to shoot it, like it's kind of too late at that point if you haven't gotten it already figured out. Now, that's not to say that when you're there and filming the scene that you don't find things that you didn't expect. That's kind of the whole point. Is like now we're all here with the sets and the costumes and all the actors, and so we really can play and find different beats that we may have not thought of while we were in rehearsal. Um, yeah, it's why prep is like the most important part of making any sort of narrative piece, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm actually hearing a lot recently from like interviews with different actors talking about this. Like the most recent that comes to mind is Tom Holland. He was talking about the difference between working with Christopher Nolan on the Odyssey, and apparently he is very precise. He's very organized, and when you arrive on set, there is a pre-planned thing of what's going to happen, and it's going to happen. But he was comparing it to the experience he has when making like the Spider-Man films and the Marvel ones, which there's almost like a lackadaisical approach to like we'll figure out what we're shooting whenever you show up on set. Because they're obviously working CGI sets, they think that they can just, make whatever story needs to happen happen. But
Sure.
apparently he sort of put his foot down now with that. It's like, no, like if you want me to be on set, you need to have something ready for me to go and that I know what's gonna happen.
Hmm.
Um and I think another big example of that as well was The Hobbit. I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings fan.
Love Lord of the
Like I was a huge fan of learning about how the production worked on the original trilogy. Like it was really inspirational for me for like pursuing that sort of education in film and TV. But the crew talked about the differences between filming The Hobbit and filming The Lord of the Rings, where with The Lord of the Rings they had all this prep time and they had all the time in the world to make their production basically run as smoothly as possible. But then with The Hobbit, it was the opposite experience. Peter Jackson was not supposed to be the like leading director of that film series. It was actually supposed to be Guillermo del Toro. I can't remember his name.
Guillermo del.
Um, Yes, exactly. Yes. He was originally the one that was supposed to direct the project, but for whatever reason, he pulled out then quite last minute. And so basically, the crew was left with like weeks of pre-production for a huge series of films that had to be created. And you can tell there's a difference in quality, definitely. So yeah, the idea that pre-planning huge works like this here is vital is yeah, it 100% makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, once you get on set, You want to be able to play and have fun. You don't want to be thinking of, oh, I didn't even tell the costume designer like what I want this person to wear. Like you just don't have time to think about stuff like that. And if you haven't done something like that, it really starts to show in the work, because instead of doing things that could have prepared you for on the day, to just literally be at set, literally, be in the space, staring at your monitor, thinking about how you want the scene to go, deciding if you like the set deck. Like, you're just not going to have the time. And I don't think that that's, you know, especially to the actors, very fair, because they have to, like, on a dime, be able to come onto set, those cameras start rolling, and they kind of have to get it perfectly because there is no time. Um, so out of respect for every crew member, being as prepared as possible is definitely the place where I want to be when I'm making something. Absolutely.
And speaking of directors, you've worked with some amazing directors as a script supervisor, with Mark Gant on Fuck Valentine's Day and Maria Marituba on America, which was a short with themes. I'm wondering, was there a style of direction that you were sort of, attracted to?
Yes. So the style of directing that I've been super attracted to is, you can always tell the people that really, really know what they want. Because some directors kind of like to find it. And I think that that's great. I'm a very type A personality, clearly, as a script supervisor. So watching the directors who were like very clear about what they want and their vision, and very concise with explaining how they want it to happen, really appealed to me, versus kind of trying to find uh, the scene or whatever it may be. Um, yeah, I just recently got to work with an incredible director and director of photography. His name is Ben Richardson. He shoots for a lot of the Taylor Sheridan shows. And we did a commercial together, and it's like one of the most amazing things to see, because he started out as a director of photography and has moved on to directing. So his ability to, like, know where the camera should be, all the different cameras should be, how the scene should work out, and just his, like, concise and easy delivery of all of that was like, wow, like, so inspiring and so great to be able to work with.
Do you have any like inspirations from like directors, any particular films or media that just really spoke to you, or maybe give you a bit of inspiration and how you want to sort of take your career?
Yeah, Sophia Coppola is definitely one of my favorite directors. I feel like that's pretty obvious in my work. But Lost in Translation is one of my most favorite movies ever. Um, and in fact, I just did this, like, really crazy thing. It's not that crazy, whatever. But Her is Spike Jonze's response to Lost in Translation. So I just recently watched those back to back, and it completely changed the meaning of Her to me, and that was so cool. So I really am inspired by directors who take their stories and take them to a personal place, which is something like what Sophia Coppola does.
Oh my God, such a good choice. I loved Marie Antoinette.
Yes, so fun.
So, so fun. So right. Can I ask about Nextdoor? Because I have 100 questions about this.
Yeah, let's get into
So I
it.
know you talked about sort of Candy Jar approaching you for the project. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about sort of how that came about and yeah, what happened there.
Yeah, so I have been working for Candy Jar as a script supervisor and their script coordinator for the past 3 years. almost maybe 3.5 years now, which is so crazy. Um, I made their first vertical with them, and with Ryan, who was the director, who is now the head of direction at Candy Jar, um, and Matt Burke, who is the DP and is still a DP for Candy Jar. So basically, we've all just been working together for the past 3.5 years, this like group of us. Candy Jar has definitely grown, and there's a lot more of us now. But it's been such an amazing job and like a great way to really hone my craft, since you start out in this industry and you like kind of don't really know what you're doing. And to be able to work on such a high volume of movies, because I think I stopped counting at one point, but I've made probably about 40 of these Candy Jar movies. They're not on my IMDb. So then those 26, I think, other movies plus like these 40 some odd movies. So in like 4 years, I've made over 60 productions, which is amazing. Just like the best learning experience I could ever ask for. And because I've been with this company for so long, everybody's become friends, like very close and dear friends. Um, and so I kept telling them how interested I am in directing, and they finally came to me with this amazing script of Nextdoor and were like, "What do you think? Do you want to direct this?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Are you serious? Like I couldn't have asked for a better script. And thank you so much for, believing in me that I actually have the ability to direct and to move up from being a script supervisor." It was really amazing.
You talked about sort of, how you developed this relationship with Candy Jar over several productions. I mean, you've made 40 movies with them and 40 projects with them, and then they came to you with Nextdoor. What was it about Nextdoor specifically that you were like, this is the story I'm ready to tell?
Really, it was because I resonated with the story so much. Being bisexual and having a crush on my high school best friend, I really understood, what that feeling was like because I had lived it. So getting a script that I resonated with was so like I was over the moon, because you don't get that a lot. Or you have to learn, like you have to find the ways in which it resonates with you. But this just like from the jump, I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I totally understand what it's like to have a crush on somebody as the same gender as you and know how confusing that can be. And, you know, wondering if they like you back or not, wondering if it's okay to even like them. Yeah. And I also just thought that it was so much fun. Like I don't know. I really resonated with the characters. Like turning Kit into kind of this like alt boy was definitely an expression of myself because I was definitely that like mall emo girl. And I was like I got a Hadley kind of feel like the too cool artsy kids to where like they think that they're the dorks, but actually everybody's just terrified of them because they're so hot and cool. um and yeah, I just like immediately got taken back to high school and was like, oh my gosh, I so know how to tell a version of this story. So it was very exciting.
Right? Because I think we all have that experience of being in high school or for our side of the world, like comprehensive or secondary school, where you just tap into that emotionally because it's so present in your life and it's such a formative part of your growing up years in your teens that you could be
Yeah.
the jock or you could be the emo kid or I was the choir boy, and there's such a resonance that draws you into this story.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I mean, I wanted it to feel as real and as lived in as possible, but I also like I wanted to bring in some camp to it as well because we have to. It's a very high drama, high stakes you know, movie in that way. So I was like, let's make it campy and fun on top of it.
Yeah, but that's the fun of like queer stories in general. Like, see if you're like reading a lot of romance and stuff like that there is that vibe to them that is just so fun and it makes them really lighthearted and very easy to consume. So translating it onto film then and capturing that like that tone and that essence, yeah, it just makes for a really, really fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't personally read any of the Nextdoor books, but I think that the author, Michael Bien, has a lot of different versions of the story of Nextdoor, which I think is super fun. And obviously, his books, brought inspiration to the scripts. So I also don't think that these scripts and these stories would be so much fun if they weren't fleshed out so great in these romance novels that he wrote.
Yeah, because we see this with, Rachel Reed's books on the Heated Rivalry or the Game Changer series, rather. And then you have people like Jacob Tierney who have come in, consumed these books and adapted them in a very similar way. I was thinking about what kind of conversation you would like people to have after watching the movie.
Yeah, I would like for people to feel, again, like they just watched a Disney Channel original that just so happened to be queer. I always like imagine in my head like how great it'll be one day where we don't really have to like label ourselves like gender wise or sexuality wise. It's all just like a normal part of life. And I kind of feel like making a queer young romance, lighthearted romance at that.
But it's so true. That's what you come away feeling when you're watching your movie. You feel that sense of there's this warmth that comes across.
I mean, that's what I want, totally. I think that we've all felt the vast majority of us, I should say, have felt like alienated in life and have felt like something that they're doing or feeling is wrong, that like should be normal. And, just being able to let especially younger people know that it's all right to have a crush on somebody who's expressing the same gender as you is okay, um, and is totally normal and not something that you should feel ashamed of. And everything is lighthearted and easy and can be fun and doesn't have to be filled with so much drama and anguish and mental illness and whatever. We all have enough of that anyway. Let's just kind of try and live in the fantasy of Disneyland where you always get the boy or the person that you're yearning for, and everybody lives happily ever after. And your bully apologizes to you and comes out.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
And so Nextdoor is presented in a vertical format. I wanted to ask you if that was
Mhm.
a conscious decision with you in the studio, and how that came to be.
Yeah, so Candy Jar has always shown their movies in a vertical format. They've recently started showing their movies in 16:9, so horizontally. You now have the option on your phone to watch it both ways. But this has just been a surge in how people watch their shows now, is they watch it on their phone, these little micro dramas. Um, so that's all Candy Jar's decision. And this is how they've been putting out their movies since I've been working for them. So since the beginning. It's very exciting that we can now have the option to watch the movie both ways, because I don't know if y'all watched it horizontally, but you get to see so much more of the world and it's really nice. I had an amazing DP, Kenji Levin, who just shot the most amazing, sequences for us to make this into a movie. Um, so the vertical format, I think, is a great way to initially bring people in because so much of us are on social media. So y'all saw it on your For You page. So it pops up for you on your For You page on TikTok in the vertical format, and then all of a sudden you're sucked into the movie. And then you're on the Candy Jar app, and you're like, I'm buying this movie right now.
Take all my money.
uh, yeah, exactly. And I think it's just a very like digestible way for people to watch a movie.
So from that point of view, are you filming it like a traditional movie and then sort of cropping in a vertical format? Or are you filming specifically in that vertical format in mind?
So with Candy Jar, we shoot 4:3, so that means we shoot the whole entire frame. On this project, we shot on an Alexa 35 with vintage lenses from Old Fast Glass, which is kind of why it has that fun, vintagey Disney Channel original feel. um, and yeah, so we shoot the whole frame, the whole 4:3, and then we'll crop for our 16:9, our horizontal cut, and then we'll crop within that 16:9, our 9:16 vertical cut.
Like when you're like storyboarding and you're planning your shots, are you planning it with the intention that this is going to be vertical, or are you planning it like it's going to be sort of shot traditionally? Like how do you usually decide your shot composition whenever you're having to do it in this style?
I definitely want to always make sure that the shot that I'm shooting for the 16:9 frame works in the vertical and looks just as good in the vertical as it does in the 16:9 because I don't want to take away anything from any of the frames, even the 4:3. I want it to look like a composed shot as well. So it's very interesting trying to think of shots and blocking that works for all three of those sizes. We've definitely kind of gotten it down to a science a little bit of what shots work and what shots don't. We'll put metadata onto our monitors so that way we can see the 9:16, the 16:9, and then the full 4:3. So we can see if our shot is working or not.
And that makes sense. And I was thinking about some of the challenges that might kind of present and how you have to really think about almost each shot as an individual shot, but do they just work together anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Shooting these kind of micro dramas, you're shooting for coverage. So you don't shoot it how you would maybe necessarily shoot a feature film or a short film because you want the audience to be able to see the whole thing that's happening. So we shoot a lot of, close-ups so that way you can really feel the emotion and the conversation that's happening that you wouldn't necessarily feel if you shot it how you would maybe want to shoot a feature film because you just in a feature you're always watching it 16:9 so you can kind of see the full picture. But if somebody's watching 9:16, they're maybe only going to be able to see one actor if you're not getting close enough on them. And these are so dramatic. You like want to see their face and you want to see what they're going through. So shooting coverage is very important for the success of these microdramas.
Yeah, and you can definitely
Mm.
see that when I watch the next door, the film. Like you can see all the expressions and you see the close-ups, and it really allows you to immerse yourself into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that kind of goes hand in hand with romance. Romance always has these like very tight, beautiful shots of these people where you can really feel what they're feeling and really be in their mind and in the moment with them. So it's really amazing and really important storytelling wise to really be up in the actor's business so that way you can really fully feel the full effects of the story.
And you talked a little bit about before how we are consuming so much of our content on our phones now. Do you sort of see vertical storytelling as sort of a new artistic way or a new distribution format that people will get used to?
I absolutely think that it's here to stay. I think it's like I was mentioning before, it's very digestible. It's very easy to find, your audience, which I was shocked because I've worked as a script supervisor, so I've not really followed the movies so much of, or even really know if they're reaching the right people. But now, as a director, seeing how quickly my story was able to get to the correct audience because it's has this vertical aspect and was able to get in the algorithm to the specific groups of people that would like my story is kind of amazing. And everything that you're looking for in distribution. And that's, if we have these algorithms built in, I definitely think that this is here to stay. And I think that we're going to figure out, new and artistic ways to make this medium, bigger and more accessible and have different kinds of stories. Like, we've always said from the beginning of making these that like thriller is kind of perfect for this small frame because you miss out on seeing so much. So you're left to wondering what's like right there behind their face. So I'm really excited to see what happens with everything because these are legit projects and legit productions. We shoot with legit professional people and equipment. We should absolutely keep this going.
Yeah, and do you think there are any misconceptions about sort of vertical content, vertical filmmaking?
I think there's always questions and confusion and wondering what something is when there's a new thing introduced. And I think that kind of happened in the vertical world a little bit of like, is this here to stay? Is this legitimate? What even is this? Do people even like this? And I think that we're overwhelmingly seeing that people do like this. This is a legitimate work, source of work for people and a legitimate way for people to get their stories out there. So I think that we're now seeing what we've all seen from the beginning, that this is actually kind of cool and pretty great. Um, and I'm excited with how much more this vertical filmmaking is being accepted. Absolutely.
I notice it's become really commonly used for like K dramas.
Hmm.
Um, like I have a friend who nearly exclusively consumes K dramas, and most of them now are on this vertical format. And so that's when I first started like seeing them was whenever they would call it my For You page, and I would have to sit and watch a few, just in case there was something good to be seen. But then when I seen it sort of done through like a Western lens as well, and it started coming out in different forms of stories being adapted here. I thought that it was such a clever art style to use whenever like trying to market, especially on social media and things like that, because the doom scroll is a real thing. And so
Absolutely.
many people are like, I think it's also a good way of getting people to watch movies again. Um, a lot of people will literally sit on their phone the entire time they're sat in front of a TV watching a film. And
Yeah.
so it's a good way of like circumventing that. By like, well, actually, no, you can watch the movie while you're scrolling. So yeah, you can enjoy it through that format instead. So yeah, it definitely has a good place and it has a role that could be really, really helpful in getting projects and film and TVs to people that are sort of drifting away from it a little bit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's the episodes are like a minute to 2 minutes long, so it's very digestible. And if you start to get bored or whatever it may be, you just scroll on past or come back to it later. But typically, these are so high drama, you want to keep on scrolling. I think it's really fun. Soap operas have always been an important part of television, and now we just watch them on our phone, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the second screen watching and how that's impacted, the industry you're in and what you're seeing around you. Because similar to what Declan said, we are just consuming so much information on our phone whilst we're watching something that there's a distractibility there. And I mean, I do it all the
Yeah,
time, I'm not going to lie.
yeah, no, absolutely. We're all so plugged in and connected at all times, and we've all been trained by our phones to like need dopamine constantly. And I think that this format kind of gives you that dopamine that you're searching for, that kind of gets lost, especially with younger people when watching movies. It's also why I think movie theaters are so important because it is so different watching a movie in a movie theater. You're like fully immersed. You're sitting with these groups of people that you don't know, and you're all experiencing this movie together. And you're I personally don't feel tempted to scroll on my phone when I'm at the movie theater because I'm like in this artistic experience versus when I'm at home I'm like, oh, did I remember to send that email while I'm like watching this movie instead of, just silly things get brought up when you're doing when you're watching at home, which is why I think casual watching has become this kind of important art form that's coming up and making these verticals and these micro dramas, because it's an untapped market. We need something that we feel like we can casually watch while we're doing the dishes. We can prop our phone up and have, Nextdoor playing in the background. And I'm going to stop watching because stop washing because every once in a while that like some sort of crazy drama cliffhanger has happened, and I want to watch that, but then I want to go back to washing my dishes. So, nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's an important art form because y'all still at the end of the day got the message of the movie and it impacted y'all, which is all that art is trying to do anyway.
Completely agree. And can I just say, whoever was editing next to the next door clips did such a good job because there were these cliffhangers. And I'm like, seriously, that's how they're going to stop? Seriously?
Yeah, yeah. My editor, Dan, amazing. So great.
And you're right, because I think I'm thinking back to the last TV show that I watched without my phone was Heated Rivalry. Like I remember putting my phone away, like literally away, and I was completely immersed into it. I know Declan and I have had lots of conversations about the nuances of that show and the details that you miss when you're on your phone and you're not watching it with your full attention. Do you see vertical storytelling as something that's going to take over in the mainstream?
I definitely think that it's headed into the mainstream if it's not already there. I mean, it's this vertical drama space is massive. And Declan, you mentioned before the K dramas. I remember my brother lived in Busan, South Korea for a while and would talk to me about these K dramas and that you watch them on your phone. And I remember hearing that and being like, what are you talking about? And he was like, they're so dramatic. It's so crazy. You get sucked in. So it's already moved from the East over to the West in America and then, Europe. And I mean, they're shooting these in like Turkey and all over. So I definitely think that this is going to be a mainstream format that we start to see. I mean, YouTube is so popular. People love to watch YouTube. This isn't so different from that.
No, and YouTube have their own distribution now. I mean, there's always money to be
Yeah.
made, right? And I think you're right. I think sometimes in the West we are playing catch up because I know, Declan talked about the K
Mhm.
dramas being so popular, and especially in India, some of the Bollywood stuff is really, really popular in vertical format now as well. And I feel like we're always just maybe just catching up to them, like with the Korean beauty products, we're always catching up.
Absolutely.
And so, thinking about Candy Jar and them sort of using this vertical format mainly, what advantages do they have over a traditional publishing or movie studio, do you think?
Well, I think that they have something that's kind of similar to a lot of movie studios, which is they own all of their IP. A lot of movie studios own their own IP and make movies from that. So Candy Jar has, Inkit Publishing and Galatea Stories behind it. So they have these romance novels that have an already built-in fan base behind them, and so they know what stories people like and what stories people want to be told. So then they'll funnel it through to Candy Jar to make these stories. So I think that that's how Candy Jar kind of stands out differently than some of these other vertical companies, is that they are very much like a studio in the fact that they have all of this IP and built-in fan base, which is so great. And being able to direct a movie for them, especially in an area that resonates with you as a director, is kind of great, because then you're put out on social media as this person who directed this movie. And then you can kind of start your fan base of people that are going to want to see your kinds of movies, which is super important as a director, because you need to have your people that are interested in your movies.
Right, and you're so right, because what they've done really well is they've really tapped into the algorithm, and that can be so
Yes.
different for everyone, and that's what I've noticed they did really well. Like, I had never heard of Candy Jar, never heard of Nextdoor until it literally popped up on my FYP, and I was like, okay, you've got my attention. Take some money now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you talked about a little bit about the fan base as well, and I've seen that you've been reposting some of the edits from Nextdoor that have been created by fans. What has that meant for you?
It's meant everything. I mean, it's been my dream to be able to connect with people in this way and to share stories this way. And so the fact that this is affecting people so much is like, I'm just so beyond overwhelmed. And it's like crazy that this story is so impactful to people that they're making edits about it. I'm like, I have to show people. This is so cool. I'm just like so happy. Like it's the coolest thing to put your art out there and have people receive it so well, and then give you back their own version of the art that like really like spoke to them, because they're a lot of time making edits about like moments that happened in the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool, amazing.
And I've wondered about what it's like to be receiving your art back to you in a different lens almost, because they'll edit certain moments and pause, or even put some different music in the background. And what's that like for you receiving that back?
I think it's great. I think it's super cool. I mean, if my art is inspiring you to make art, like that's kind of what makes the world go round, right? I think it's amazing and beautiful, and I'm just like I feel like a broken record of being like I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so grateful, but like I literally have no other words, because it's the coolest thing ever. Like just seeing your art go super viral, and then having people write you of like, this like meant so much to me, this is the best movie, I want to see more. And then like I've had like artists make drawings of Kitten River and like post them, and then or people make their fan edits or whatever. I think it's amazing, and it also like helps with the marketing more too, because then they're posting and then I'm able to repost, and maybe more people get to see this movie, which is kind of the point.
Definitely.
I just wanted to ask, is there any sort of projects or books that have like a queer center story that you would absolutely love to be able to adapt and direct?
Yes. So maybe not super queer, but definitely has like some queer undertones is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I That is one of my all-time favorite books. I think it would be incredible to be able to make that into a movie. Also, I just finished reading A Little Life, which is, I mean, that is like trauma on another level. But it could be such a beautiful movie, you know.
I can't see Declan's face right
I
now, but I know Declan was not a fan, but I'll let him talk before I do.
It's fine. It really
I
is kind of trauma porn in a way, but beautiful.
yeah, I just
And I mean, the prose is amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing.
the writing style, and I did say that the writing style and the writing quality in the book is fantastic, but it
Oh,
was
another,
just getting to a point where I was like, I don't want to read this anymore. Like this
yeah,
is like not I'm no longer enjoying this. I'm no longer enjoying reading this. And then I just had to
totally.
stop.
Totally.
Yeah.
I hit that point in that book too. But then I was like, I just fell in love with the writing style so much that I was like, I'm gonna keep pushing through. And I will say it was worth it to keep pushing through.
100%. And this is where Declan and I very much disagree. And we don't disagree much on the podcast, to be fair. But I loved A Little Life. I read it, I listened to the audiobook as well. And
Mhm.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there is a point in the book about three-quarters of the way where you can just stop reading and pretend that's the end. And that's fine.
Yes.
I, like you, Caroline,
Yes.
chose to push through. I even went to see, so they did the play on the West End very, very briefly a
Oh
couple
my
of
God.
years ago. And I know we were talking about the West End just before we went on camera. And that was
Yeah.
my introduction to A Little Life. So I actually didn't know the story. I went in a little blind on purpose. And I remember at the interval looking over to my friend, it's his favorite book, saying, "That's
Uh-huh.
it, right? Like, no more bad stuff, right?" And he kind of looked at me and laughed.
It's like overwhelming how bad it is. Like not that it's bad. It's just like trauma after trauma after trauma, which
Yeah.
it's overwhelming, but it's so beautiful. And again, I think important to be written and told about because I, some people 100% connect with all of those traumas in a way.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
am
Mhm.
surprised that it hasn't been made into a movie. They filmed
I know.
the West End production and it was online very briefly and then they took it down and I cannot find it anywhere. So if there are any listeners who have like a sneaky link, please send it to me. Um,
Yes, and
yeah, it's
me.
such a beautiful story and it was done so well in the play in London a few years ago. Um,
I could really see this as a play,
yes.
maybe even more so than a movie,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I think it would work as a play. I think if you made this into a movie, you would have it would be very hard to sell to like an audience to sit through that for like 3 hours
I
because it's a really long
I
book.
can
And to do the whole thing justice, you wouldn't need to make it that long. Like it would need to be like 2.5 hours.
I I can see it
Totally.
as a mini series or a limited series because
Right, yeah,
it so
Yeah,
definitely.
suits that.
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are people in the background. I'm manifesting this for you, Caroline. Please bring us A Little Life.
Yes, somebody call me to make A Little Life, please. I'd be happy to share my trauma through A Little Life.
Uh, I I got to the point where they were together and it just was getting messy and complicated and hard. And then I like flip over to the next chapter and somebody is cheating on someone and I'm like, no. No, no, no. I know where this is going. I see the car crash ahead. I've had enough. I am no longer sold. I'm gone.
I remember watching Declan's review of A Little Life when I was on holiday in Croatia. And I think we had recorded our podcast episode last year for something else. and I immediately message you. I'm like, no, you've got it wrong. You need to keep going. Please just keep going, because it is such a beautiful. It's a tragic story, sure.
He's not wrong.
Caroline, whose side do you want? Do we want this movie or not?
No, I'm on your side, Sylvan. I'm on your side. I'm saying you're not wrong. You need to keep going. Exactly, you absolutely need to keep going. I know it. It sounds like it's a
I
standard thing to hit a part and be like, "Oh my gosh, how much more can go wrong?" But if you just keep
I
pushing, just keep
I do
following,
know.
falling in love with how it's written.
Yeah, I know what happens,
Okay.
and I'm not sold on continuing.
Look, in the words of Dory, just keep swimming.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
God.
Also, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey there. So the journey to get there is
But the
beautiful.
journey through hell.
It's not it is a journey through hell, but it's a beautiful journey through
It is. I was in tears. I think
The views are great.
for me, the only books that I've cried sobbing are A Little Life and The Notebook.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember reading a notebook as a kid and like having that like pain in your left arm because like your heart aches so much. Yeah.
And so, coming back to sort of your journey as well, Caroline, is there any advice that you would give somebody who's coming into the industry or interested in directing, for example?
Yeah, I would say to just continue to do it. Without getting too far into anything, I have been uh kind of moving through life on more or less on my own since I was 17 and have not had much direction and have kind of just been, trying different things and seeing how things go. And I was always afraid to kind of follow my ultimate dream, which was to work in film. I didn't know what aspect I wanted to work in film. I just knew that ever since a little kid, I just love movies. I love writing. I love storytelling. And I would always envision as a little kid, like being on movie sets and making a movie, typically as an actor. But that's really, I think, what most people think of when they think of movies. So if anyone has like an inkling or a dream or whatever, I think you should go out and try. Um, Everybody tells you that it's such a tough industry to break into, and that's not a lie. It is, but I don't think it's as hard as it as you, I think you'd be surprised at how much easier it is if this is actually something that you deeply want and you show so much enthusiasm. And also what's most important is putting in the work to be you know up to or putting in the work in order to have a job such as making a film or working in production at all, because it is such it's such a trade and like a skill, and I think a lot of people forget that. They think it's ideas or imagination or whatever that may be, and yes, it is those things, but it's also a skill that you really need to put in a lot of time to hone your craft, so that way when you do have the opportunity to step onto a set you can really um, impress people by how well you know how to do your specific craft. So I 100% follow your dream and keep trying, because also you might find something else that you like. You might think, like for me, I thought that I wanted to be an actor. And then all of a sudden I saw more and understood more of like what a director does. And I was like, oh, that seems interesting. And so many people start out with acting and then find that they actually are really into makeup and they want to put makeup on people and learn how to make prosthetics, or that they're more into the costume part and want to make costumes, or they're really into like making things. So they want to go into the art department and maybe be a prop master or whatever that may be. So I definitely think you should try and find and be open to finding something different than what you thought that you were originally going there for in the first place.
That's really lovely. So, the next section, Caroline, we'd like to ask you some quick fire questions to see what your instincts are telling you. How's that? So, the first one is, can you name one film that every aspiring director should watch?
Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing.
Good choice.
I mean, a masterclass and heartbreak, honestly.
Yeah. So, the next one is, can you name a director whose career you admire? I know we've kind of talked about this.
Sophia Coppola, obviously. She's amazing, incredible. Paul Thomas Anderson, amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, if honestly, if I could have Sophia Coppola's career, where I get to write a lot of my movies and also, make some studio movies, that would be pretty cool with me.
Yeah. The next one is, what is your favorite part of filmmaking?
Oh, my favorite part of filmmaking is being able to collaborate with everyone. I as a director do not think that I'm like omniscient and know everything and am the one making this movie. I really truly think that this is like a collaborative experience. I love hearing other people's ideas about what they think a certain thing or aspect of writing or character or whatever it may be should go. I think that things work the best when you collaborate.
Yeah, yeah. The next one is, what is the least glamorous part of filmmaking?
Oh my gosh, the hours. The hours are brutal, as you know. It's brutal. Um, you are on set, especially as a director, because as soon as you're like before you're on set, while you're on set, and off set, you're having to think about so many different things, answer so many different questions. Also, if you have a client involved, you're also talking with them and hearing their vision and just constantly working. So even if you're not on set and working, you're still working. Get very little sleep during production. So the hours are brutal. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
it's not a job for people that value sleep.
yeah, no, it's definitely not. But there is a saying of like, like the worst day on set is way better than my best day off of set. That we like to
Mm.
say. Which is it's true. You have to absolutely love it. Otherwise, it is very grueling. The hours.
Yeah. I like sleep way too much. I'm not gonna lie.
Very
Give me a 9 to 5 any day. The next one, Caroline, is, what's one thing audiences would be surprised to learn about making Nextdoor?
they'd be surprised to learn about. Um, I think that a lot of that Nextdoor was a lot of firsts for us. It was my producer's first time producing. I love you, Danny, so much if you're watching this. It was my first time directing. It was Justin's first time leading a candy jar movie. And it was Nick's first time being on like a legitimate production, as I'm pretty sure that's how he put it. So it was really amazing to have so much of this, especially our two leading characters and then the director and producer having it all be our first time and having a crew that just like totally lifted us up and really supported us and helped bring our vision to life. It was amazing. And I think maybe kind of surprising that this was our first time because it seems to have done so well. It's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when people finish watching Nextdoor, what feeling do you hope stays with them afterwards?
I hope inspiration and joy and happiness and peace and acceptance of themselves, because that's really what the movie's about at the, heart of it all is about acceptance.
And so, for anyone who's wondering, where can people watch Nextdoor, Caroline?
So you can watch Nextdoor on Candy Jar, either on your phone or on your Apple TV. Or on Amazon Prime Live TV, there's a Candy Jar channel.
Amazing. And if you want to just dip your toes in, you can always check out the Candy Jar TikTok page, which have a lot of the first few
Yeah.
episodes there. So you can sort of really get into the story as well.
Yes, they're on Instagram as well if you don't have TikTok.
Yeah. And are there any projects that you have coming up that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so I've directed another project for Candy Jar. This one is not queer. This is a plus-sized romance, and it's college age this time. It's definitely much sexier. It's a sex education kind of story. And it was based off of the book Study Buddy that was written by Jen Cooper. That's on the Galatea Stories app. And yeah, it should be coming out June 26th, I believe is the date. That's very
Oh,
exciting.
that's soon.
It's a yeah, totally. It's starring Noah Andre, who is a very prominent vertical actor right now. And then we had a brand new actress come on the scene. Her name is Sophia, and she was incredible. And I can't wait for y'all to see.
That's exciting. We're going to have to get you back on for when that releases, Caroline.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
And where can people find you on socials?
Y'all can find me. All of my socials are at Caroline Gray Plyler. I have TikTok and Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Like, genuinely, this has been such a treat for us. Just from the whole journey, just having the videos pop up on our FYP to then contacting you is so lovely and so receptive and so happy to talk about this with us that we've just been really happy with the response that we've seen on our end as well.
Oh my gosh, I'm like literally dying. This is like a dream come true. I can't. I'm dying. Pinch me moment, truly. So thank y'all for having me on and helping me live my childhood dreams. I don't know. This is crazy.
Yeah, because it's important. We need to be telling queer stories like this, and they're important to tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, like we were mentioning, especially lighthearted queer stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. 100%. Karen, thank you so much. You've been an absolutely amazing guest. We've had such a fun time.
I've had the best time. Thank y'all so much.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you to Caroline for joining us. We are across TikTok, Instagram. You can watch the podcast as well, not just on Spotify listening, but you can also watch us on YouTube too and other platforms as well. On top of that as well, we also have a Fable, so a book club where we're looking at different romance books and then getting discussions about them. And those books will eventually end up on the podcast as well, where me and Silvan will be discussing them in more detail. At the moment, we just finished one of the Puckboy books, and we are currently polling to see what everyone wants to read next. So if you would like to make a decision on that and choose which out of the select 4, I think I've set up, that you want to read for the next couple of weeks, then get on there. It's called the Long Game Podcast Book Club. So yeah, give that a try, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out all Caroline's socials as well. And yeah, we'll see you for next time.